Hello and welcome to YemmyCast, a video game podcast on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcasts. How are you today? Today's gonna be the day I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty well myself. I hope everyone had a merry, happy holiday, and I hope everyone has a good day as well. Today is a special episode of the Weekend Podcast. That is right. We are doing the top 100 games of the past decade. That's right. It's 2010 through 2019. That is a whole decade. A lot of you would say, a little bit about 2020, Yemmy. Well, I guess that's just not how people are doing it this year. I was originally planning on ordering these from number 100 all the way to 1, but I couldn't do it. Like, I just could not do it. There's so many games on here that I would put as number 1, and I was like, you know what? It's better just to kind of just do a generic list. Not generic, but just do a list. Don't say if this would be my favorite or not. Just kind of talk about 100 games. We're talking about 100 games today, guys. This might go on for a while. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for staying with me. If you want to, make sure you follow the channel. Make sure you follow the podcast. You know how it is. We are streaming on Twitch now. So if you search YemmytheFerret or go to my Twitter, it's in the pinned post as to why I switched to Twitch. Or my latest Fubar Ferret will also give you the information you need. Should we just start, guys? I feel like we should just start. Also, probably around the change of the new year or January itself, we're going to be switching platforms for this podcast over to Anchor so that it doesn't cost me money to host the podcast here. Hooray! All right. So, I was thinking, what games should even go on this list, you know? Should I put games that are just genuinely or generally liked? Should I put games that I didn't play on here, like The Witcher 3 and stuff like that? Because if Witcher 3 is not on this list, people are gonna hang me up to die. I'll be hanging from my neck. I'll be the old a day to remember there. Keep your ropes up high and your heads down low. So what I've done is I've compiled a list from 2010 all the way to 2019 of games that I've personally played and personally enjoyed. So this list is not a generic, the best games of the decade. No, this is a Yemmy the Ferret official top 100 games of the decade from me. So don't think that this one is gonna have all those Japanese games and fighting games and racing and sports games that you're thinking of, because they're probably not on here. This decade, I've changed my tastes a lot, and I think that the list will represent that. I went from majorly loving first-person shooters to pretty much liking a lot of different things now. Third-person action games seems to be ones that I like the most, but let's talk about some games, guys. Let's talk about some games, a lot of games. Like I said, this is not a top 100 list. I'm going to pick them out at random. Oh, I should do that. Holy shit. Spin wheel. Oh my god. Please, wheel decide. Oh, this is going to be so fucking funny. Can't decide? Wheel decide. Here we go. The wheel is spinning. That is right. The first game we're going to talk about today. Oh my god. It's For Honor. Wow, that's actually kind of funny. So, this is actually kind of dumb that this is the first game on here that we're going to talk about today. For Honor is a third-person rock, paper, scissors simulator. Literally. You have to choose the correct stance in order to counter your opponent's strikes. So you have up, which is a high stance, left and right. And you block in those directions, then you also attack in those directions as well. You can do heavy attacks, you can do combos, stuff like that. It was a really, really fun game to play, and it's actually still supported to this day, which is actually crazy. A lot of things in the game worked really, really well, and the online community was really not that toxic at all. I remember playing this game for a long, long time, and then kind of losing faith in it after a while. There was there was a time where a lot of people who were like me at the game, who were just kind of like a mediocre kind of level, they left. They left the game to do other things, and that's when I started just getting destroyed in matchmaking. It did not matter what I tried to do; I was destroyed. Nice thing though, I acquired the platinum for the game, so that's on my resume. The campaign was actually pretty fun in this. I just was thinking about that with the trophies. The campaign was actually really interesting campaign. You kind of got to goof around with all the different types of warriors you could choose, and of course they've added more through DLC now. And there was one who was always overpowered. One with it was like on the samurai side, and they had like a staff with a poker on the end of it. Really long reach and really agile, and it was really overpowered. I remember using the first Viking a lot. Of course, the first samurai is the easiest to get combos. And after, I hated most of the knights. Like, I could not stand most of the knights' configurations. And there's a trophy for getting, max level with one character in each of the knights or each of the categories for the characters. And, whoo-wee! That was not fun. The knight was so annoying. But I had a lot of fun with For Honor. I don't know if I'd go back to it now. Maybe if it was free, I'd go back to it. But I'm not going to purchase the game again because I'm just not interested in it. So that's the first game for today. For Honor on the list of top 100 games of the decade. Let's spin again. Hopefully multiple ones can't come up. Hopefully it deletes the ones. Spec Ops: The Line. Okay. Spec Ops: The Line. Well, for starters, Spec Ops: The Line is the most deep third-person shooter you will ever play. And I am not joking when I say that. Spec Ops: The Line has... it has some of the most gripping, I would say, gripping qualities to it. It was a game where you start off and you go, oh yeah, shooty guns, bang bang, and it turns into like an experience. This would definitely be higher on the list of 100 games, and I think it is for a lot of people, where this is the first game that you play as a stupid teenager, a stupid noob, and you go, what the heck am I playing? Because it's so deep, it goes so deep, and it's not like a forced deep. I remember there's a little bit of choice in this game that you could do, and the multiplayer was okay. It's definitely a game that I would like to come back to and play on the Twitch channel. It's definitely one that I need a refresher on because I haven't played it since my high school days. But I do remember it being very brutal, and I remember it just being a story that just you'll remember after you play it. So yeah, Spec Ops: The Line, very nice. Moving on. Red Dead Redemption, the original. I'll say it for as long as I need to say it, guys. I don't enjoy Red Dead 2. But Red Dead 1 is a special game to me. One, it was one of the first games I played on the Xbox 360 that wasn't a first-person shooter. And two, it was the first game that red ringed my Xbox 360. I got the Xbox 360 Elite at Target for a pretty good deal, and I bought Red Dead Redemption, and I played it for so long that it almost killed my Xbox. Luckily, I turned it off, turned it back on after an hour. It was fine. But this is just a really, really great game. Everything about it is really well. After you get done with the opening stuff, and you can kind of go out into the world and kind of start messing with things, the missions get a lot more interesting, especially after you save the elixir guy. Just the horse riding, the cattle herding, all these things that you do in this game. Just it's a lot of fun, and the environment is really well done. The landscape looks beautiful. The game holds up. It does hold up. And the cover system, even though it's dated, was fine. The gunplay was fine. The Red Dead, the Deadeye stuff was cool, and doing the shootouts were also fun as well. I really enjoy Red Dead Redemption, and I think that a lot of people who have are playing Red Dead 2 who haven't played Red Dead 1, I think you're missing out. And I think if you're done with Red Dead 2, you should definitely try Red Dead 1 where you can get it. I think you can get it on like Xbox and PlayStation 3 still. I'm not sure if you can get it on PC. You'd have to search for that yourself. All right, move on. I'm hoping that this wheel doesn't repeat, because that'd be annoying. Limbo! All right, Limbo. Limbo is a game that I was obsessed with for a while. It was like 2 years ago I really got into Limbo, and that was right before the game Inside came out. I did not get to play Inside, but I did play Limbo religiously for a few years. I got so good at this game. The only thing I couldn't do was getting through the game without dying 5 times or whatever, especially because you can take like the secret way out to get done with the game faster. And unfortunately, that's not a good idea when you're going for the Platinum Trophy. But it's a really neat adventure with puzzles and stuff like that, platforming puzzles. And it also has a really strong narrative embezzled into between the lines, I should say, not embezzled. That's a political term. But in between the lines, it has a really deep and nice story to it. And I love the atmosphere in this game. I love how it looks and the shadows and stuff like that. And the game is quite, I mean, it can be a little bit of a challenge, and it's such a fun and fantastic experience. If you haven't played Limbo, you're really missing out. It is available everywhere now, I believe. But yeah, it was one of those games where when I first played it back whenever it came out, I wasn't into it because that wasn't my type of game. But now I went back and played it 2 years ago. I think was the last time I played through, and tried to get like trophies and stuff in it on PlayStation. And I just had such a great experience with it. I forgot that I was trophy hunting. I got all the eggs and everything like that. But I was like, it's such a good experience, guys. You can't knock it. You can't knock it. Let's move on. Next one. I'm trying not to spend too much time with it because there's a lot of games. Mortal Kombat 11. I thought I took this off the list. I apologize if this list is 101. I apologize. Mortal Kombat 11. So that game came out this year, 2019. I was really disappointed with the story. I liked the story better than Mortal Kombat X, of course. But the story in Mortal Kombat 11 just kind of left me wanting more, and it also left me wanting a certain robotic character that shows up in the campaign a few times to be a playable character. Sector shows up in the game several times to fight, but he didn't get a character. And same with the yellow dude. I forget his name right now because I haven't played the game in a while. I will say this, the combat and stuff like that in Mortal Kombat 11 is really, really good. The graphics are amazing. The fatalities are brutal. They really did not hold back. Mortal Kombat lives up to its namesake with this game, where like X and DC versus Mortal Kombat failed. This game really strives and really reaches the top, and they really showed their stuff with this game. Interesting to see where the story is going to go, of course, because of what happens in the campaign. But also, don't really care. But I guess these games were never really based around the campaigns. Like, you play the campaign to unlock the secret character at the end, which is Frost and Centurion or whatever her name is. 2 characters I can't stand. But yeah, the online works really well, and the towers are still there, which are fun to do. I wish the crypt was better designed. I wish it wasn't a money hole. But Mortal Kombat 11 is still a great game. If you like fighting games, it's definitely one that you can get into. The combos are easy enough. The special abilities are easy enough. It's not like Street Fighter or Soul Calibur or stuff like that where you have to do like very, very specific inputs in order to get things done. You can win by doing basic movesets, and I proved that. I do basic movesets with Kano and with Baraka. Piece of cake to beat some of these people who really want to do combos. Sure, they'll get a combo off, which will take out half my health. But then I'll do my special moves in rapid succession, and they don't know what hit them. I haven't played online in a while, so I may be talking out of my butt. But still a decent game. Moving on. Mortal Kombat 11. I can't believe I left it on the list. I apologize. Deadpool the video game. I love this game. This game embodies everything that I wanted in Deadpool. I remember being a little bit disappointed in the Deadpool movie that came out, the original one, because it didn't feel like Deadpool. There was this love story attached to him, and blah 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 blah. Of course, to make him more, likable in the regular audience view. But to me, I was like, that doesn't really feel like Deadpool, but this game feels like Deadpool. I don't care what other people say. I love this game. The combat is fun. The dialogue is witty and funny. The scenes and stuff like that. The fourth wall breaks. Just there's so much to do in this game that, well, I guess there's not so much to do, but there's so much that's fun about this game. It's hard for me not to say anything. It's hard for me to say anything bad about it, other than the fact that playing through it again, some of the jokes lose their sting, and you wish that you could skip cutscenes. But other than that, I really had a fun time with it. I got the platinum on this one as well. It was a fun platinum. I wish there was more to do in this game, though. There's like a wave defender mode that you had to do for the trophies, which I didn't like, but the campaign is so much fun. It's hard to bring it down. And there was like specific things you had to do for trophies in them, which really were fun as well. So cool beans. I enjoyed Deadpool. If you haven't played the Deadpool video game, you're missing out on a fun experience. The ending boss fight is also pretty cool. And this is like one of the only Marvel games that has like Wolverine and the X-Men in it. And it's actually kind of cool. Kind of cool to see them interacting with Deadpool. Lots of funny parts in it. So if you want to, make sure you check out the Deadpool, the video game, on our top 100 games of the decade list. Here we go. We're spinning around. Halo Reach. Now, this is a game that recently got re-released on, on the PC. The Master Chief Collection is coming to PC. Now, I haven't played the campaign in a while, but I remember playing this game religiously back when it came out. I believe in 2010 it came out. Halo Reach is one of those games that it had like a mediocre reception from a lot of people, but to a lot of people, this was their first Halo game, and a lot of people, this was like the first time like Halo actually made them or got them to play campaign multiple times. This campaign is really fun because there's so many different things that you do during this game. There's so many different ways that you play this game. There's sections where you drive vehicles. There's sections where you try and capture flags. There's sections where you have to, help someone get to a point. There's big battles. There's small battles. It's a very well put together game, and I don't like the armor abilities. Those are the only things I don't like about the game, but everything else is really, really well done. The guns and stuff like that. It's a really cool experience playing as this group of Spartans. And I would recommend picking this up on PC if you have the cash. I'm sure it'll go on sale eventually. You can buy them separately or in the Master Chief Collection, which is very nice. Come on. Big money. Arkham City. Batman Arkham City. This is another one of those games where I would put it very high on the list because Arkham City is my favorite Batman Arkham game, hands down. I don't like Night. You won't be seeing that on this list. Origins, I just played through again on Twitch and YouTube, and it was just about the same as I remember. Maybe I had a little bit more fun with it, but for the most part, very boring. Arkham Asylum came out before, so I don't think maybe it is on this list. I don't remember. We'll see. We'll see, won't we? I loved Arkham Asylum, but City was the Batman game that I've played through the most. It's one of those games that I just cannot stop playing because the campaign is so fun and everything about it, like the open world, the being in Gotham and Joker's there and Penguin and Two-Face and Catwoman and Doctor Strange and all these people that you see in the comic books come to life in this game, and they are written so well. They're written just like their characters should be. Unlike Night, unlike Origins. And unlike Asylum, this game actually has a good resolution at the end. It actually has a really engaging story at the end. And you really are interested to see, especially from the side mission stuff, you're really interested to see what's going to happen next in the story. So from a Batman fan perspective, Arkham City is definitely the best in my opinion. Of course, other people will probably have different opinions. That's fine. But to me, love Arkham City. Arkham City is one of the best games of this decade for sure. like I said, it would definitely be very high on the list. It's such a great experience. The challenge maps are fun. The stealth parts are fun. Just everything's fun about it. Everything's fun about it. The Riddler stuff is really well done in this one too. It's not just like hidden on the map, like in plain sight. Like you actually have to go deep and dive into these games, and the riddles themselves you have to solve are also really fun to do as well. I really wish that they introduced the riddle stuff earlier in the game so I could start doing it earlier in the game. But it's still really fun, really good game. I love Arkham City. Moving on. And around we go. Where it stops, I know. Alien Isolation. This is a game that I did not like when I first played it back when it came out. And on replay of the game, I fell in love with it. The aesthetic, the way everything looks, the way the game plays, so good. So good. The stealth, the alien itself, the AI that actually learns your different attack patterns and gadgets and ways to get around. It is actually a very terrifying game, and if you haven't played Alien Isolation, you're really missing out. It is actually available everywhere now, even on the Switch. You can play it on the go, so when the alien shows up, you can crap your pants while you're on the toilet. The graphics are amazing. Like I said, it has like a really, really good aesthetic to it. It really feels like you're in the Alien movie. Just everything about it, the sounds, the way people talk and everything, it just feels so much like you're playing the original Alien movie. Just everything's so good about it. Combat in the game is a little wonky at times, of course, but it's more so they want you to do stealth in the game. They obviously want you to do stealth, but they give you the tools to do, guns blazing if you want to. It's a very, like I said, it's very, like you feel, like the game's named Isolation, and you feel it while you're going through this game. After you get past the first part where you have someone helping you get through the station, but yeah, you start to feel the pressure of I'm in this alone. There's an alien on this goddamn ship. There's blood everywhere. Just things aren't right. Really cool, really cool. And it kind of explains what happened to Ridley's mother in a scene in this. So pretty cool, pretty cool. So Alien Isolation definitely deserves to be on this list and many others. SteamWorld Dig 2. SteamWorld Dig 2, fantastic game. Builds upon everything that the first game had and more. You play as the... would it be your cousin or... you're related to the main character of SteamWorld Dig 1 somehow. I forget how. But you come to the same town that you were at and you try and build it up again. Or you go to a town and you build it up as you do. Lots of cool characters in this game to meet. Lots of interesting ways to get around in the underworld. It's a pretty much a game where you mine for things, and depending on how you mine, you'll miss out on things. So if you go too far down and you can't go up, of course, you can't mine up unless you have a ladder or something like that, or a jetpack later in the game. The puzzles in the game, like the minecart puzzles, were really interesting. They made you think. The graphics in the game are the classic SteamWorld style, and it looks really, really well, or really, really good. And I just, it's just such a great game, such a fun game. I really enjoyed my playthrough of it, and I definitely want to go back and play through it again sometime. It's one of those games, though, that I feel like if you go through it again, you kind of have to forget the game, because... it's just like Horizon Zero Dawn for me, which I'll probably talk about later. It's one of those things that's like I know what happens in all the different ways that you can go, and I don't know if I want to play through it again because I know everything that's happening. It's not like Mass Effect 2 where you can change things up and have a cool experience, a different experience. It's a singular game, very one way you can do things. So yeah. Still love SteamWorld, the SteamWorld series, and SteamWorld Dig 2 definitely deserves to be on the list. Bad North. This game came out last year, technically, and they updated this year with the Jortun, or whatever edition. So this is an interesting game. It's like a little strategy game. You have 4 different sets of 4 units on the field, and you have to defend your home against Viking invaders. So you have sword and shield guys, you have spearmen, and you have bow and arrow. That's right, bow and arrow guys. And depending on what enemies you're facing, some of them are better than others going against the certain types of enemies. It's a really interesting game to play. With the new edition of the game, they changed things up a lot, and you can really feel it if you played the older version of the game to this version of the game. It's a little bit more difficult and stuff like that. So yeah, you just earn money by saving your houses, and each, like, I think it's randomly generated too. So each area you go to is a little bit different. You can collect new units, you can collect upgrades, you can upgrade your troops with the money and stuff like that. So really cool, really interesting idea and concept. And I can't wait to see what else this developer is going to do in the future. Borderlands 2. Now, this is another game that I would highly rate on this list. You know why? Because unlike Borderlands 3, unlike pre-sequel, kind of like Borderlands 1, I can go back and play this game so many times. I've played through this game more times than really any other game on this list, minus like one or two. I think Arkham City and Mass Effect 2 have it beat, but Borderlands 2 is one of those games where they added more DLC characters. I played through the game with every single character all the way through, DLC characters all the way through. I've gotten platinums and 100% on this game on almost every platform. DLC is a fantastic, and it comes with the game now if you get the Handsome Collection. Everything about this game just was so good, and leading up to Borderlands 3, I replayed the game again on stream, and I was so excited for this game, for Borderlands 3. But Borderlands 2 has it beat, by far. Borderlands 2 is more replayable, it's more fun, the side missions are actually fun to do, the world and the story and everything like that, it's so good. So good. It's one complete package from the beginning to the end. The co-op elements, the way that the game progresses, the areas you go to. I don't have really anything negative to say about this game, other than like a few areas are a little bit too barren, or you have nothing to do in those areas except discover the named location for the trophy, So Borderlands 2, I love it. I will never stop loving it, and if you try and get between me and Borderlands 2, I'll hunt you down, and I'll kill you. Abzu. Now, this is a game that a lot of people love, and me included. The only thing wonky about this game is walking on land, which is why it probably wouldn't be very high on this list. But the atmosphere and the way you go about this game is so good. If you don't recall, this is the same developer as Journey and Flower. Both those games obviously don't have a lot like going for them in terms of like gameplay and stuff like that, but it's more of an experience. And this game definitely gives you an underwater fantastic experience. The swimming, the puzzles, the atmosphere, the different things you see in this game look so cool. The everything is so cool about this game. Thinking back, I did play it once and I didn't play it again, and I would love to play through it again. It definitely there's a lasting impression on me though. Just from one playthrough of this game, it had a lasting impression on me, and I really enjoyed my time with it. And if you haven't played Abzu, it's definitely something you should look into playing if you love those kind of like more atmospheric games. It's not really about the gameplay, it's more about the story and the journey that you're on to get to the place that you're going. So, Abzu, love it. Definitely a great game. Whew. Undertale. Ah, yes. This list wouldn't be complete without the Undertale game. I played this game a few years ago now. I think when it came out on PlayStation 4, that's when I played it. So it might have been 2 years ago. Instantly fell in love with this game. It's so funny. It's so basic, but also so deep, I went through the game both killing everything and being a pacifist, and both ways you play the game are fun. I really enjoyed the characters you meet in this game, the music, everything about it is just so good. And this is a game that the developer took a risk releasing, because this is so different than anything that we've actually had or that at the time was currently popular. First-person shooters were like, I think this came out the same year as Overwatch, But it made such a ripple. It made such a big effect on the gaming community that it's still being played, bought, everything to this day People love this game. I love this game. It's very, very good. Like I said, the humor's there, the combat's there, the characters and the story, it's all there. And it really gives you a nice freedom to kind of be the person you want to be. And so, with that, I say, thank you, Undertale, for a great experience and for some really classic tunes. This is definitely one of those games that, like, the soundtrack is just going to live forever. Everyone knows the meme about Megalovania, but it still is a very good song and deserves to be, given an award. Give it an award. Give it a little smoochy. Hey, SteamWorld Dig, the original SteamWorld Dig. Like I said, it is on this list because the original SteamWorld Dig is one of those games that came out in the era of me playing first-person shooters a lot, and it stood out in the world of my teenage mind. SteamWorld Dig wasn't almost the same thing as SteamWorld Dig 2. Just you have a little bit less that you can acquire throughout the game. There's no jetpacks or anything like that, but you can buy ladders and ropes and new not weapons, but new pickaxes and ways to get through rocks. It has this whole deep diving story in it, and the end of it is really ominous. And they kind of SteamWorld Dig 2, of course, builds upon that. But I love SteamWorld Dig 1, not as much as SteamWorld Dig 2, but it still definitely deserves to be on this list. And if you disagree with me, fight me in the comments. PT. So this was just a demo, but it has such a lasting impact on the video game world. It's hard not to put it on this list just for that. But also, I had a great experience while playing this little demo. It's literally, you're in a house, and there's something there, and you kind of have to discover how to get through this house. There's you go through the same hallway every single time you do it. If you can be attacked by this ghoul. The ghoul attaches itself to, there's so many things that people are still discovering about this game to this day. There's ports of this game. You can still play it on a PlayStation that still has it downloaded. But if you go to the PlayStation Store and try and search for it, I believe that you can't download it anymore if you haven't already, or maybe you can't download it in general. But it was a great experience, and if you want to, I would suggest researching about this little game. It was supposed to come from the same people who did the Silent Hill series, and it just, unfortunately, I believe Kojima and Konami split, and this game was put into a virtual dumpster. So, unfortunately, PT died, but it'll live on in our hearts forever. Grim Fandango Remastered. Now, I know what you're thinking, guys. Oh, that game came out years before the decade. True, but the remaster was the first time I played it, and the remaster is amazing. I got through the game majorly by myself for the first time I played it. It was a little bit difficult because it is a point-and-click adventure game, and I was not used to playing those. But after I played this game, I went and played all the different remasters, like the Slime one. There was also one where you're playing as a guy on a motorcycle. I forget what those games are called, though, right now. Full Throttle is one of them. The other one, though, I forget what that one's called. But I went back and played those games. They were free also on PlayStation Plus as well, which helped a lot. But Grim Fandango Remastered has left a solid, long-standing impact on my mind. It was just such a fun game, such a colorful and adventurous game. So many different things happen throughout it. Just great characters, development of your main character, puzzles to solve and stuff like that. There was a while where I was really stuck for a long time on one singular part of the game, and when you finally got through it, it was holy shit, that just happened. We did it. So if you haven't yet, make sure you play through Grim Fandango Remastered or Grim Fandango in general. It's still a great game, and it's just one of those things that's you go through it and you're like, oh, that was actually rewarding to get through this game, because there were so many different things that had to kind of line up and work to get through it. So Grim Fandango on my list, of course. Goat Simulator. I feel like we haven't touched the surface of this list yet. Goat Simulator is a game that I actually played on my old YouTube channel, which I uploaded some one or two videos of like the combined videos that I put out for it on my channel now. So if you want to, you can search those. Goat Simulator has so many like free things about it, and also some DLC as well, that really just makes the game even more absurd and weird. But that's what I love about the game. This game came out at a perfect time because it's one of those games that started a trend. These weird simulation games that aren't actually simulator games. So Goat Simulator was like the first one that was just crazy. You could do literally anything you want. It didn't, like, the AI was awful and the UI was awful, but the game was amazing. So you got games like Goat Simulator, Bee Simulator, Farming Simulator, which is actually more serious, so that doesn't make sense. But there's so many of these, like Pigeon Simulator and stuff like that. All these games came out in lieu of Goat Simulator coming out. Goat Simulator started a trend. Just like Five Nights at Freddy's, this game started a trend of weird simulation games that aren't actually simulators, like totally realistic simulator, battle simulator, whatever it's called on Steam. This game inspired a lot of those, and it really was a fun game to play. I think everyone's pretty much played it at this point, unless you're a little tiny baby. Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 came around at the perfect time. People lost faith in the Resident Evil series, with 6 being a dud, and Resident Evil 7 came out and reminded us why we love Resident Evil. It felt like an old school Resident Evil, even though it was in first person, even though it was made for more of a VR experience, and it was its own contained story. It still felt like Resident Evil with item management and stuff like, and finding upgrades in the environment and getting through the game, fighting bosses and stuff like that, along with smaller enemies. It's an intense game. Definitely lives up to the Resident Evil name, and it's just it's really a fantastic experience. It has a great story to it. I think people were saying that it messes up the canon a little bit, but I don't really know about canon, but I'll have to look that up myself in the future. And yeah, I think Resident Evil 7 is a fantastic game. I'm planning on playing through it again eventually. I have it on Steam. So I'm planning on playing through it again, of course, but it could be a little while because there's a lot of things I have to get done. But Resident Evil 7 is still a game that I love. I love the playing through, and even though the ending boss fight felt like every other Resident Evil ending boss fight, still not too bad. Not too bad. Resident Evil 7, love ya. Octodad. Octodad, Dadliest Catch. I tell you one thing, Octodad was a cult hit and a cult classic that went mainstream. You play as an octopus dad. You play, like, the controls are wonky. It's kind of like, any of like those like surgeon simulators or hand simulator type games where things just aren't right because you're an octopus and you're trying to slip and slide around and you're trying to get away from this chef who's trying to cook you. You have a family, a beautiful family. It's just this game was goofy, fun, and imaginative. It just took the whole, it took this idea that, you would have, when you were a kid, oh, what if I was an octopus? And it just made it, here it is. It's just such a fun game, an interesting game. If you haven't played Octodad, Dadliest Catch, you're missing out on a hilarious experience. The controls can get a little annoying at times because you're an octopus. But let me tell you, you master this game. Even if you don't master this game, you're gonna have a great time with it. I played it both on the PC and the PS4. PS4 version was a little bit weird because it didn't feel like you had as much control with the joysticks. But playing on the keyboard and mouse was a great experience, and I would recommend it. Octodad, go home. Bad Company 2. Bad Company 2 is still my favorite Battlefield game. Not gonna lie to you guys. I wish it still had a good community. I wish it was, still being played by thousands of people like it was in the past. This game I played with my friends back in high school so much. I loved playing as the support class with the LMG. This was the only game that I went through with snipers religiously because the sniper class was so good. It had a sensor ball that you could throw. You had C4, like enough C4 to take out a tank. You know, it wasn't like this new Battlefield where you have 2 C4 and 2 Panzerfaust. Nope, don't even scratch the surface of this damn tank. In this game, you actually could combat tanks with infantry, and it was fantastic. Bad Company 2 was one of the first games that had the biggest map ever made. It had windmills and stuff like that. It was such a great game. It was more cartoony, like the graphic style, but the game was serious. And even though the campaign wasn't as good as like some other games that I played that year, Bad Company 2 still goes down in history as my favorite Battlefield game. Had the best maps, best guns, some good customization, but the newer games, of course, had more. Like Battlefield 4 and 3 had so much customization you couldn't handle it. But still, Bad Company 2 is still like the top of my list. I loved it so much. Even though the campaign wasn't as good, I still enjoyed the campaign and going through it. I definitely think if you're looking for a Battlefield game, this one, I would point you towards this one, but the online community is dead. Really, the only people on anymore are people who just play as snipers, and they're really good, So there's really nothing like that, like good about that anymore. And this was actually This was the Bad Company. This Bad Company had the Vietnam expansion pack, which totally changed the game. It was so good, so good. Everything about the Vietnam expansion was amazing. This game was amazing. I really wish that Bad Company 3 would come around, but it doesn't seem like we're gonna be getting it anytime soon. What's next? Wait, Resident Evil 7 again. Okay, so we need to take out the ones we've already done. All right, here we go. Let's spin again. Dante's Inferno. People are probably scratching their heads. This game came out at the perfect time. When God of War was at its peak, Dante's Inferno came in and said, hey, look at this. It's even more disturbing and even more crazy. And yes, it's a cut and paste God of War game, but damn, look at this baby. It's being eaten alive. It's such a disgusting and gross game. But the story in it follows along the 7 Deadly Sins tales. And it's just, the boss fights are amazing, the gameplay is really fun, and the game is really interesting. And if you haven't played Dante's Inferno, it's definitely a hidden gem. It wasn't really reviewed that good because of the fact that it was like a God of War clone practically, but it's actually a really fun game, a really interesting game to get through, and it really does make you think a little bit throughout the whole thing. Like, it's literally Dante goes to hell. The story is really interesting because you're playing as this knight in the Crusades, and the Pope is like, your sins are forgiven no matter what you do. So he's like, okay, fine, I'll just bang this one girl. But because he made a deal with like the devil or something, or the woman or his wife made a deal with the devil, who was like, he'll be faithful until the devil takes her to hell, and he has to go save her. Like I said, really good game. You see some tits in this game. It's just a really great game in general. I love playing this game. The first boss fight is against the Grim Reaper, so if that doesn't sell you, then I don't know what will. Gears of War 5. The only reason I put this on the list is because it was a return to the Gears of War that I love. This game reminded me of 1, 2, and 3, and oh boy, it was pretty good. Not too bad. It's a little rough around the edges, of course, and I think the story didn't hold up as well as I thought it was going to, but in the end, I actually enjoyed my time, and I still play the multiplayer here and there. It's not like Gears of War was never one of those games that I played a lot of multiplayer in, but still a nice multiplayer experience. It's available, this is the first Gears game that you can play on PC practically, so really props to them for that, so I could play it. It had some nice graphics in it. The only thing about this game the reason why I say, I put it on here for, whatever, it's a little boring at times through the campaign. There's a lot of times where you're just walking, and it takes so long to walk through this area, and you're like, yes, this is interesting, but also, where's the action? So I'm glad it didn't win Best Action Game this year. But I did like the game enough to put it on the list, so here you are. Gears 5. Congratulations. The Division. The original Tom Clancy's The Division. I hate Division 2. You guys know this from YemmyCast in the past few years. Actually, this past year, right? It came out this year, Division 2. Division 1 was a nice game though. I really liked this game. It was tight knit. You could play with your fellow Divisionees. I like the story in it. I like the levels in it. I like the collectibles in it. It's just Division 2 just doesn't feel right, compared to this game. Even though I don't really want to play through Division 2 again. I've done it twice, I think. I don't want to play through it again. I did it on the hardest difficulty, and it was fine. It's just like Destiny to me, except it's a little bit better than Destiny. Where it's just like all the enemies are just bullet sponges, and you go through these things trying to find the rarest loot, and there's a point where they stop you from getting better loot, and you have to go into the dark areas where you have to go against PvP and stuff like that, and that's where it gets annoying. So if I did number these from 1 to 100, this one would definitely be more towards the 100 side of things, because there's a lot of things that annoy me about the game, but I still enjoy the game enough. So thanks for the good times, Division. Division 2 though, fuck off. Oh. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Love that game. Love this game. Hellblade was such a good experience, and I'm really excited for Hellblade 2, which is coming out later or next year. This year, I don't know when. I don't know what to say at the end of the December. So next year. But this Hellblade, the original Hellblade, was just such an interesting experience. Playing with headphones on just really puts you in the mind of Senua. And going through the game, yes, the combat was a little iffy here and there, and the final boss fight wasn't really a boss fight. It was more like just survive it, I really did enjoy the journey of Hellblade, and it was really a magical experience. So, Hellblade, you can get it for like $10, I think, right now, which is pretty good. But yeah, I loved Hellblade, and Hellblade can stick around. I really liked it. I wish I had more to say, but that's it. One of the best games from Telltale, The Wolf Among Us. Actually, probably the best game. Probably the game that everyone was wishing for a second season since it came out. People, of course, love The Walking Dead, but The Wolf Among Us was a game that I really liked. It's just the way the game just reveals things, and the way that it plays, and it left you wanting more at the end of it. It's just such a great game. There's really not much I can say that's bad about the game. I think the 4th episode is probably the weakest episode, because it has you have the least to do, and there's the least amount of things that actually impact the story. But everything else is just so good, so good. Anything else to say, Yemmy? Probably not. It's just I'm glad that the season 2 is coming out, and it's one of those things that's like, thank God, So yeah, Wolf Among Us, glad it's getting a sequel, and it definitely is very high on the top 100 list. Okay, so we got Hellblade again, so let's go ahead and take out the ones we've already done. Alright, let's spin it again. Rocket League. Here's a game that's stayed relevant past its release. Rocket League is a great game. It's literally soccer or football for you Brits out there, with little robot cars, little RC cars. It reminded me so much of Revolt, and I instantly fell in love with it. It's a fun little game. What else can you say? There's really not much to do in it other than doing the soccer. But I guess there's more now, because there's basketball, there's hockey, and stuff like that. I really wish they would add like a demolition derby type game mode where you just kind of try and run into people. That would be kind of fun. But all in all, Rocket League is a great game. It's definitely, like I said, it stayed so relevant, and I'm glad that they're changing things around. They're for the fans. Like they took out a lot of the microtransaction stuff, like loot crates and stuff like that. They took out for blueprints, and they're trying to adjust things so that people don't complain. So yeah, Rocket League, great game. I love it and hate it at the same time. Zombie Army Trilogy. Now, this is a trilogy worth playing. All three of the games in this trilogy are fantastic. Of course, it follows the World War II story of the Nazis. Hitler gains an artifact or gets an artifact that can turn his army into a group of zombies. It's such a fun game. It's in the vein of Sniper, like the Sniper Elite series, but it's more arcade, and it's so much fun. I can't wait for the fourth one to come out later this year. So or next year. Jeez. So it's gonna be interesting to see where the trilogy is gonna go. But for right now, Zombie Army Trilogy is on this list because it's a great trilogy. And it is one game now. Like I wouldn't put all three of the games individually on here. It's one big game, and it's definitely worth it. And the nice thing is, when this game originally came out, they gave you a discount if you had 1 and 2 already. Because the trilogy was the only way you could get the third game in the series. So, thumbs up to the developers, Rebellion, and thumbs up for this game. Very fun. Still play it to this day. Mad Max. Mad Max, such an underrated classic. It would definitely be pretty high on this list, probably top 25, to be honest with you. It's a game that came out the same day as Phantom Pain, and no one bought it because of that. Everyone went for Phantom Pain, because obviously Phantom Pain is a bigger, better game, but Mad Max was I was the only person in line that was even thinking about buying Mad Max, you know? Which is really funny to think about. It's such a nice game. Like, for a movie game, it's so good. The combat with the vehicles, the combat on the ground, the different places you can go to, the story, everything about it is really good. If I had one complaint about it, it's just that like, you have to, like, if you don't do the main mission stuff right away, you kind of have to, like, decrease your car. You know what I'm saying? So, you have to, like, take things off your upgrades. You have to take them off your car and stuff like that. But other than that, I really enjoy this game. Everything about it is just so much fun. The open world, the stuff you can do in the open world, the cars you can make and get, and all the upgrades you can go and do. And such a great game. Such a great game. Vehicle combat has never been sweeter. Really, this game inspired Rage 2's combat system with the cars. And the cars combat in Rage 2 is okay, but Mad Max, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell to the yeah. Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man, a PS4 exclusive that sold so many consoles. Spider-Man, oh my gosh, what can you say about it other than it's very, 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 very good. Like I said for other games, it feels like a Spider-Man game. It feels like you're living a Spider-Man adventure. Yes, the story's a little bit predictable, especially if you've read comic books and watched movies, but let me tell you, it's hella good. Hella good. The only parts of the game I don't like are the parts where you aren't Spider-Man, which is very rare, but when they do come up, they're very tedious sections that are just annoying. But for the most part, the web slinging, the swinging, the combat, the story, the side missions, everything about it reminded me of like a Batman experience, but you had Spider-Man. So, good job. I can't wait for another one. Speaking of the Phantom Pain, here we are, the Phantom Pain. Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain, came out after an interesting, like, mini-game was released. Phantom Pain takes the idea of you get to decide how you want to play the game and puts it on the next fucking level. Like, this game has so much, like, play your way. It makes Undertale look like a baby game. Like, it's just such an interesting and excellent game. I get a little bit annoyed with those, like, ghost characters you have to fight in the game. But other than that, Phantom Pain is spectacular. It's a spectacular experience. The combat, the stealth, everything about the game is so good, and it's made for a general audience. Not like the way that, like, you're thinking, but it is more accessible, I should say, to a general audience than most Metal Gear Solid games. Like, I tried playing 3. Sorry, Callus, I'm trying. Okay, it's aged very poorly. Okay, I'm trying, but Metal Gear, like, Phantom Pain, you can boot that up and play it, easy peasy. So yeah, Phantom Pain definitely is very high on the list, of course. Did not win Game of the Year from me personally, but it was close. It was close. You love that wheel sound, baby. Dishonored, the first one. The first one was really the only one that I liked in the Dishonored series. Stealth action game, like I say with a lot of these games, it lets you kind of play the way you wanted to. This game, there was, if you like, kind of like Undertale, if you played more like killing, things would happen in the environment or in the game that would, bounce off of that, which I think they did in Dishonored 2 as well. But this game, you could see it more because you're kind of going through the same areas at the start of the levels, and you're kind of seeing how, killing people is making this plague thing get worse and stuff like that. It's a very interesting game. It was one of the first games that I played that allowed you to be, like, stealthy and, like, decide the fate. Like, I never played Hitman before this game. It's kind of like Hitman in that sense where you can kind of, like, you can decide to poison one guy or both of them or none of them or, whatever, Very cool. I've played this game a lot, and actually Callus, speaking of Callus, he won this game in a giveaway that I did, so hopefully he's enjoying it as well. God, this episode's long. I apologize. The Ratchet & Clank remake. Oh, what a fantastic game. I think that this came out at the perfect time. I was missing 3D platformers, and then this game came around, and it was like, oh... Very, 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 very good. Very good. The movie? Very, 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 very poopy. All right? Very, very, very poopy. But the game? Oh, the game's so good. If you haven't, make sure you play it. That's all I gotta say. Guacamelee. Fun little 2D action game. A little bit of puzzle in there, a little bit of platforming, all fantastic. The second game, pretty good as well. I don't like the story as much as that one, so I don't think I put it on the list, but Guacamelee 1, hell yes. So good. The ending boss fight is a culmination of everything you've learned. So good. I love this game. I love the art style and the atmosphere and the luchador and... so good. If you haven't played Guacamelee, that's another game that's like, yeah, that's a good one. If you like 2D side-scrolling adventure games, platformer games, that's gonna be the game for you. I tell you what. All right, we already saw Rocket League, so let's take out some games here. Spin it again, please. My good sir. Whew. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Now, this is a game that I was not expecting to be as good as it was, and what do you know? It was my favorite game that year it came out. Going back and playing through it again, of course, I see the problems with the story and the overall free running in general, but the ship combat is just so goddamn good. You can't get any better than this, I tell you. Black Flag, ship combat, played so much of it, got through I have the best badass ship ever. I beat all the legendary ships. I beat the wanted system. I'm a madman. So good. Such a good game. It surprised everyone because Assassin's Creed 3 came out and everyone was like, fuck Assassin's Creed. They need to make something different. And then Black Flag came out and everyone was like, yep, this is what we wanted. I didn't know we wanted it, but we want it. There you go. So yeah, pretty cool. Definitely one of the games that I really highly rate in the Assassin's Creed series. Sure, I do put Rogue a little bit higher than it, but I think they're on the same level. But I don't think I put Rogue on this list, so Black Flag it is. Spin it, win it. Stop. Overcooked 2. Overcooked 2 takes everything you know from Overcooked 1 and makes it even better. Just a fun little co-op game that you can play with up to 4 people. You cook meals. It can be basic at times, but it gets pretty difficult, especially when you get to the later levels in the game where you are cooking in a haunted house and stuff like that. It's very imaginative. It's just a fun game for the whole family. And if you haven't played Overcooked or Overcooked 2, I believe the combo pack is out and it's pretty good. The DLC or the free DLC for this game has been good too, and the the paid DLC has been pretty good too as well. Definitely a fun game. If you're a chef like me, you'll definitely love this one. Trying to go a little bit faster, guys. Outer Worlds. Of course, it was number 2 on my top 10 games list for 2019. What else can be said about this game? It's a great open world experience. It allows you to kind of play the game as you want. It has a lot of freedom with your choices. It feels like New Vegas, except in space. What else can you say about it? I think that's about it. Outer Worlds, definitely a top tier game from Obsidian. Shadow Warrior 2. Now, Shadow Warrior 2 took the Shadow Warrior formula, which is in the reboot, I would say. Just slicing and dicing and stuff like that, and made it like 10 times bigger. So it's an open world game now. And yes, the combat and everything's a little bit basic, and the story is a little bit weird, but it's funny. It flows very well. The different areas you go to have all these different types of enemies and stuff like that. There's little rabbits in this game that turn into giant freak like monsters, and it freaks you out at first. It's a fun game. It has a really smooth leveling up system. The weapons are fun to get, and the upgrades and stuff like that. Shadow Warrior 2 definitely is still a good game, and I would recommend it. It was really fun. Spin the circle round and round. Where it stops, I will frown. Left 4 Dead 2. Now, this is a game that you better put on this list, or someone's going to come around and slap you, because there's people who still play this game competitively, even though there's no competitive, like, gaming circuit. You can play on this game. Like, there's people who have over, like, 100,000 hours on this game, because it is just a tried and true formula. Left 4 Dead, like, inspired so many games in the future, like the World War Z game that came out this year. You know, it's a formula that works. Zombies and stuff like that. You know, just fighting through with special zombies mixed in there to give you a little bit of a challenge. The multiplayer is really fun, being the co-op or PvP. You know, where one team gets to be the zombies and one team gets to be the survivors. This game also free DLC. All the DLC became free after the chains of Microsoft were taken off of the team, so they allowed all of the original Left 4 Dead maps in this one, and they also added some new ones as well. Really, really cool. Really enjoyable game. Just an enjoyable game. Left 4 Dead 2 will still be relevant probably 10 years from now. Devil May Cry 5, one of the newest games to put on this list. I haven't finished it yet, but I can already tell this is going to be one of my favorite games ever. I'm not a fan of Devil May Cry. That's the thing. I played this game on a recommendation from Night Celestial, and what do you know? It's been a fantastic experience. The graphics are so good. You know, the gameplay and combat so good. The characters and development of the story so good. The boss fights very intense. Really cool game. Can't wait to play more of it. Definitely deserves to be on this list. Thank ya. Have a good day. Thank ya. Uncharted 4, the final game in the Nathan Drake saga. But I'm sure it'll be back with Nathan Drake, but just not as the main character. I believe it's going to be his daughter, as you probably already know, or probably already have guessed. But this was a good finish to the series, and it had pirates in it. And this is one of the only Uncharted games that did not have a supernatural element. And then the little DLC for this, or the big DLC, Lost Legacy, came out for this, and it was in the same vein. So I like Uncharted when it's more of like set in the real world kind of thing. The supernatural stuff usually turns me off, and this game did not have any of that. The rope physics in this game, really good. The multiplayer in this game, really fun. The story in this game, a really good ending to a really good series. If you haven't picked it up, the Nathan Drake collection is really good, and also this game, very good too. Thank you so much for this amazing experience. Far Cry Primal. That's a little controversial, Yummy. Well, it's controversial because it was a controversial game. The map was copy and paste from Far Cry 4. People didn't like the whole aesthetic of the game and stuff like that. I personally I love this game. It was so much fun playing as a caveman. Come on, how can you not love that? It was such a fun experience, taming animals, going through this map and doing the side missions and stuff like that. I got the platinum for this as well. Not that hard of a platinum, to be honest with you. There was a blood dragon Easter egg if you could find in this game, which was really funny too. It was a really good game, not gonna lie. I really enjoyed it myself. The legendary animals were fun to take down, and just everything about it was just a really fun experience. It was really different than what you would normally find. It felt like a Far Cry game still, but it was definitely its own thing. Definitely its own thing. Bada boom, Mortal Kombat 9. Of course, the Mortal Kombat 9's on this list. You guys didn't think I would miss it. Technically, this game is Mortal Kombat Reboot or whatever you would want to call it. Remake. Not remake, but reboot. This game had everyone in it. Like, literally every character you could think of for the Mortal Kombat universe that was relevant was in this game. Sure, there were some missing, like they always do. The PlayStation version had Kratos in this game, which was fun, and yeah, there's really not much I could say negative about this game. The story was actually good in it. The combat was actually really fun, and the online was really toxic, but really fun as well. The crypt was really gruesome. Like, I hated going in there, but I was like, I want new costumes, you know. Let's all take a minute to appreciate the Melina Rags costume in this game. You know what I'm talking about. Really good game, better than 11 and better than 10. Probably the best Mortal Kombat game I've played. I still play it every so often, but it's aged a little bit, and I still get pissed off with the story. Even though I love the story, like, every character dies in this game, and then they did nothing with that, with the plot line with that, so, you know, fuck me. Ollie 2, welcome to Ollywood. Love this game. I never played the original one, but the Ollie 2, like, you play as this, like, little skater dude, and you do, rail grinds and different moves and stuff like that to get a high score. You collect the skate letters and stuff like that are in challenging places. Lots of fun level designs in this game. Lots of fun places to be, places to see. It's a really good game. It was free, actually, on PlayStation Plus when it originally came out, which was a really big plus for me. But yeah, it's a good game, tough platinum, and it's really, really cool. Really cool game. Definitely would recommend it. It's a nice little indie game. So put it on your list, boys and girls. Okay, Far Cry Primal again, so let's go through and take out some. Ooh, okay, spin that wheel round and round. Wolfenstein: The New Order. Now, this was a good return to form for the Wolfenstein series. It was the first one on the newer consoles, and it improved everything from the old Wolfenstein games. This is the last Wolfenstein game that was good, guys. The first one and last one. I didn't like Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. I didn't like Bad Blood. I did not like Young Blood. What an awful game. I never played the Cyberpilot game, but Wolfenstein: The New Order will forever be my favorite Wolfenstein game. The combat's smooth, the leveling system is good, the level design is good, everything about it is just fun and fantastic, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Wolfenstein: The New Order. So fun, so fun. Killing Nazis never felt so good. Binding of Isaac. If I didn't put this game on this list, everyone would hate me. Binding of Isaac is a classic. It's just such a great formula. It's like a roguelite, random generated kind of game. You play as Isaac, who is obviously going to have PTSD for the rest of his life. The monster designs, the music, the characters, the secrets, the boss fights, everything about this game, fantastic. Binding of Isaac is going to be, one of those games that history remembers, and it's for good reason. Good reason. Civilization 5. One of my favorite games, probably one of the best games on this list. Better than 6, better than 4, I think. Fight me. Civilization 5 also had the best DLC out of the group. Even though Brave New World, I didn't like the tourism aspect of it. I liked everything else that it added. Civ 5, it's a Civilization game, and it's one of my most played games on Steam. Probably the most played game on Steam. I still play it to this day. If there's people who want to play it with me, I will certainly play it with you. I play this game for hours on end. I remember being up until like 4 a.m. playing it one day with my friends. Not the best decision of my life, but luckily that was a time when I wasn't working, so fantastic. Civilization 5, even the vanilla version is good, guys. Come on. The Ukulele and the Impossible Lair, one of my favorite games this year. Definitely took the ukulele, Playtonic definitely stepped it up with this game. If you don't know, Playtonic used to be Rare, who used to make Banjo-Kazooie, and they boasted that the original ukulele was going to be a Rare revival, but it was not. It was anything but. It was a shell of what it could have been. The Impossible Lair, on the other hand, hell yes. I had to apologize to Playtonic because I judged this game before it came out. The level design is fantastic. The music in the game is fantastic. If you want to know more about it, watch my top 10 games list for 2019 on YemmyCast, which was just a few episodes ago. So make sure you check that out, guys, because it's on there. Fez! If you don't know what Fez is, it's a 2D world-bending experience. Captain Toad is kind of like this game. I think it took from this game, of course, where you can move the environment to open up new paths and stuff like that. Fez is just a really fun little goofy game, platformer. You collect what are they, like squares, and you're trying to do something. I forget though. It's been a very long time since I played it, but it's still one of those games that I remember because it's such a unique experience, and the graphics were fun, the game was fun in general, and it had a really nice new aesthetic to it that we hadn't seen before. So Fez, definitely good. Rayman Legends. Now, people tell me that this game is based off of the originals, which I have never played, so this is my first time playing them, and this was a really excellent little game. Rayman, it's a 2D platformer, speed running kind of thing. The music levels really stand out in this game. They're so well designed and so well concocted. The level design in general is really fun, and the collectibles are fun to get as well, saving all the little firefly dudes. The world you kind of explore and stuff like that is really fun. Like, you go inside different paintings and stuff like that. And the multiplayer was pretty fun too. You kind of had to race against other people's times and try and beat them. Pretty fun. And I think there was like a soccer game as well, which is also fun as well. Shovel Knight, a game that will live forever in our hearts. Shovel Knight was the first 2D really difficult game that got people really interested in 2D kind of old retro style games. You play as a knight who has a shovel, and the add-ons to this game, the DLC and stuff like that, really improve the game a lot. The Plague's Tale DLC, holy shit, was that good. It was like Tony Hawk in a Reaper costume, come on. But the original Shovel Knight, really good game, really challenging game, really fun, and if you haven't played it, you're missing out. You're missing out for sure. I know I said that a lot, but it's true. The Walking Dead, Telltale's The Walking Dead. The first season was fantastic. Not much I can say that I haven't already said about it. It's the only Walking Dead season that I would hold in such high regards to put it on a list like this. The final season is okay, but all the other seasons kind of blend together in my mind, and I don't really like them. But the original Walking Dead series, just so good. Lee was such a great character. Clementine was such an interesting part of that game. It was based more off of the comics, so you saw some people from the comic books in this game. It was such a good time. I wish I could play through this game for the first time again, but unfortunately, that's never going to happen unless I wipe my memory. Katana Zero, lovely game. Another 2-bit, kind of like 2D side-scrolling adventure. Feels kind of like those top-down games, like where you bust into a room and start shooting people up, except it's side-scrolling. The combat in the game is really cool. The story in this game is amazing. It has like an 80s vibe to it. Definitely one that you should check out. It got a nod at the Game Awards, but I feel like it should have won something at the Game Awards for either style or soundtrack or something, because it is good. Definitely recommend playing through this one. It's a little short, but it's fun. Katana Zero again. Smash Brothers Ultimate. This is the only Smash Bros. Game I played since Brawl, and it's pretty good. The stuff they're adding onto the game is really fun. The spirit board is really fun to do. The multiplayer needs a little work, especially with the 4-player multiplayer, because the Nintendo Online servers are trash. But the roster is everything you ever dreamed of in a Smash Brothers game and more. Just so many freaking good characters. Diddy Kong's in there, Donkey Kong, of course, Pac-Man, Sonic, Mega Man, Mario, Dr. Mario, the Pokemon trainers back, Lucario, Mewtwo. The DLC characters have been pretty good, like Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that. The Piranha Plant. Just an interesting and really fun game. It definitely took a lot of love and passion, and everyone really appreciates everything that Sakurai put into this game. So if you haven't checked out Smash Brothers and you're a fan of the Smash Brothers series or fighting games in general, this one is really well put together, and I love all the different things they put into this game. Really, really fun, really cool. Lots of throwback stuff and other things as well. So if you haven't, Smash Brothers Ultimate, definitely a very good fighting game. Deadliest Warrior, the video game. This came out in 2010, guys. Do you believe it? It was a free-to-play game where you could buy other characters, which I bought. Deadliest Warrior was a TV series here in America where they pit two groups of warriors who would never, ever meet in real life or in the past, and they put them up against each other. So one of my favorites was the Vlad the Impaler versus Sin Tzu, the Art of War guy. Another one, Pirate versus Knight. I loved using the pirate in this game. He was the best character in this game. It's a 3D fighting game. It's a 3-dimensional. It was so much fun. I put it on this list because of the fact that whole year, 2010, I played the Deadliest Warrior video game for so long, and then they took it down from the store, and I was like really sad. So Deadliest Warrior, the video game, has a place in my heart. It would probably be number 100 on this list, to be honest with you guys, because it's kind of shitty thinking back, but it still was a hell of a fun experience. Deadliest Warrior, you got a place in my heart. I wish they would bring it to fucking Netflix so I could watch it again, but I think they canceled the series. I don't know. Deadliest Warrior. Call of Duty World War II. I think this is one of the only Call of Duty games on this list. Call of Duty World War II was a great return to form. The Call of Duty series has been lacking ever since Advanced Warfare came around, and here we are with COD World War II. It was one of the best games I played. It was the only Call of Duty game since like Modern Warfare 3 that I played religiously every single day for the whole year and even into the end of its life. Definitely a game that I would recommend to any COD fan or any fan of World War II. It has a great story to it. The levels are well designed. There's a lot of neat ideas that they implement in here. And the multiplayer is really fun as well. So if you haven't checked it out, you probably should. It's a little bit overpriced still because it's still technically a new game. So if you can get it on sale or wait a year or two, it should be down to like the $20 range. A lot of people, this game wasn't met with good reception, I don't think. But in the end, I really enjoyed it. The war mode, fantastic. Fantastic. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. You can say this is his own game. Like I said, I don't really like the Far Cry series. Far Cry 5 was the only one that I played through all the way so far, and Blood Dragon was the other one that I played through all the way. It's such a great aesthetic to it. It kind of feels like you're the Terminator, or something like that, where you're like a half robot guy. You're going around in this world of crazy 80s style artwork kind of stuff. The guns are like laser guns, and there's giant dragons running around, and it's great. It really is great. If you haven't played Blood Dragon, I mean, you're missing out. Like, it's a great expansion to Far Cry 3, and to be honest with you guys, it's probably one of my favorite expansions ever. It's right up there with the Battlefield Vietnam expansion. Doom from 2016. Now, I said that Wolfenstein was a good return to form. Well, Doom, the best return to form. This game took everything you love about the old Doom series and made it into the 21st century. Ripping and tearing ghouls apart, really great blood and animations, ragdoll physics. The multiplayer was a copy of Halo, which wasn't fun, but everything else about this game was really cool. The level designer and stuff like that. The campaign was excellent as well. The guns you get in the campaign, the different bosses you fight in the campaign. So cool. The executions, off the charts. I can't wait for Eternal. I'm upset that they pushed it back, but I'm also glad because that means that the game's going to be better. As you know, that's what I say. But I'm really excited, and I'm interested to see where Doom's going to go in the next game. But Doom from 2016, definitely high on the list. Okay, let's remove some. Spin it, bitch. All right, we can actually see the names of the pie pieces. All right, Mario Odyssey. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Mario Odyssey, great Mario game. Reminded me so much of Mario 64, but so much has changed about Mario. I tell you what, I love 64, but Mario Odyssey brought me back to that childhood wonder of Mario 64, and yeah, I love it. I love it. It's a really good game. Really good game. If you haven't played a Mario Odyssey and you love the Mario series, like 64 open world adventure games, yep, this is definitely one for you. It just feels so much like a classic Mario game, and that's what I love about it. Round and round it goes. Ooh. Death Stranding. Now, this is a game that didn't make it on my top 10 list, but I appreciate this game. It's different than anything else you've ever played, but it's also more boring than anything else you've ever played. It's pretty much just walk around delivering packages, but it's really an interesting concept, and when you get into it, sometimes it can get really intense, sometimes it can get really boring with too many stealth sections or just walking aimlessly. The cinematics and the graphics and stuff like that are top-notch. Even on my basic original PS4, everything runs really smoothly and looks really good. The only thing about it is my PlayStation is about to launch, get ready for liftoff with how loud it is for this game, but Death Stranding isn't for everyone, understandable, but it's definitely one of those games that I'll be thinking about for a while. Haven't finished it yet, but, that's how it goes. Metro Last Light. This is the best Metro game out there. Exodus doesn't even come close. I'm sorry, guys, but the open world aspect of Exodus is just so bad. But Metro Last Light has a great story. You can actually do things that'll affect the story in the end. The gunplay and the stealth sections are fun, and the overall aesthetic of the world is so tight and so nice as well. So if you haven't played it, Metro Last Light is really cheap. I mean, you can get it at the Redux for like $20 with both the games 1 and 2. Yeah, just a great game in general. I wish that Exodus lived up to the expectations I had for it, but it's close, I guess. But Last Light definitely will be one that I remember and one that I play through a lot. Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn was a great one playthrough type of game. I don't think I would play through it again. On the hardest difficulty, no. On regular difficulty, no. But it was such a great experience. It was one of those games that just kind of is like, here you go, here's the open world. You can do the objective if you want to, but you can explore pretty much the whole thing. The robots in the game, awesome. The story in the game, kind of interesting, kind of predictable. But everything about the game was really good, and I'm guessing there's going to be a second game coming around when the PS5 comes out because they're already having the mocap people go into the mocap studio from the studio. That sounded really dumb. But yeah, it's a great game. The way that they have the map load is kind of revolutionary. It literally loads the area around you and where you're looking, and as you look left and right, it loads those areas in real time almost. So it's a really cool way of doing it, and even though that makes it so the enemies respawn faster, I think it's a really interesting idea and a really cool concept. Has some great side missions, some great collectibles, and that power arm you get at the end of the game that you can find at the end of the game. Oh yeah, that's one for the books. Like I said, I haven't played through it again. It's a one-time playthrough type game for me, but still really good. What's next? Beat Saber reminds me of Guitar Hero and Rock Band games. Just you're using swords to go along with the beat. Definitely a better experience with the Oculus and the Steam library because you get all these songs that people make for you, kind of like the Guitar Hero Clone Hero. But still a great game, even on the PS4. The song selection isn't as good as a Steam, but still really good game. And the Green Day DLC is out now. Woohoo! Spin. Oh yeah, Bulletstorm is a fucking fun game. In a world of first-person shooters that take themselves too seriously, this game is one that you can just rip through, have a good time, maybe have a beer. You know how it is. have a good time with Bulletstorm. It's funny, it's interesting, the voice acting is hilarious, the gameplay is fun, it doesn't get monotonous, and the guns you get in this game are fucking great. And the whip technique, you get points for how you kill someone. Yeah, that was the most interesting thing about this game, and it still is so fucking fun. If you haven't gotten it, the remastered version is definitely something that you should think about getting if you're interested in this game. Just such a great game. It definitely earns its M rating with lines that you'll remember for the rest of your life. I'm gonna shoot you in the dick. What? In my dick? Journey is kind of like Abzu in the way that it's more of a game that you experience rather than a game that you play. Still a good game. It has a little bit of a multiplayer aspect to it, of course, that was really discovered late in its life. It's just a really interesting and enthralling game. The soundtrack and everything. It's pretty much Abzu, just on land. That's what I gotta say. We'll keep that one short. Here's another game that's like you experience the game instead of kind of playing it. Firewatch. Firewatch is a first-person adventure kind of game with a little bit of an open world to it, but you play as this guy who's watching for fires in California, and you're going through some tough times. And there's a mystery to this area. It's a really neat game. I love the art style in it, and I love the different things you can do in this game. It's definitely like a really short but really fun experience. And if you haven't played it, it's a really good one. It's a good one. Ooh, Jazz Punk, the most absurd and random game you'll ever play. Ooh. Jazz Punk was a fun experience on the PS4 and on the computer. I played it 2 times now. It's funny. It's got a really interesting story to it that's just hilarious. The different ways you do things, just so funny. Each level has like its own world you can kind of explore and find secrets in. I mean, come on, like, who doesn't love Jazz Punk? Raise your hands and I will hang you. Just kidding! BioShock Infinite. Now, there's a game that I haven't thought of in a while. BioShock Infinite is probably my favorite BioShock game. It's a little bit better than 2, but to be honest with you, it's better. I love the way that the game goes about introducing characters and the story in the game and the different areas in the game. It's a bit confusing, and it kind of loses track of itself late in the game, but for the most part, BioShock Infinite, a good piece of media. BioShock 2, I meant Infinite. Thief. Now here's a game that's controversial. Thief was a game that wasn't well received, but it's so much fun. Stealing things has never felt so good. The story's a little bit weak, and the game's a little bit too dark, like as in like the lighting in the game. You kind of have to turn things up a bit, but it has some nice elements to it. And to be honest with you, I could play this game a few more times, but I won't. SteamWorld Quest. Spoiler alert, my favorite game of 2019. If you haven't played it, you're missing out. It's a card turn-based battling game. It's good. It's great. It's awesome. It's the best thing around. If you haven't played it, it has the same aesthetic of a SteamWorld game, but the gameplay is way different. And that's the nice thing about these SteamWorld games is every game has a little bit different, or majorly different, like Heist and this game. So yeah, that's SteamWorld. If you want to know more about SteamWorld Quest, just listen to my top 10 games of 2019 podcast, and that'll give you all the information you need. Firewatch is showing up again, so let's remove some more. Bop! Let's spin it again. Portal 2. I mean, what else to say about Portal 2? I mean, great co-op game, great single-player experience, makes you think a lot, and if you're working with someone else, it makes you think even more. Not much else you can say about Portal 2 that hasn't already been said, so let's move on. Papers, Please. Very interesting game. Definitely makes you... It's another one of those games that's like, you gotta have to remember a bunch of things. Like, you're basically at the border, and you're letting people into your country. So there's different things you have to kind of look out for. It's kind of like peace death, except border patrol. But yeah, the person in charge gives you different things to look out for and it builds up and up and up as time goes on. Very interesting game. Definitely recommend it. Bloodborne, my favorite From Software game and favorite Souls-like experience of all time. I love the aesthetic of this game, the gothic textures, and the way the game plays. Everything about the game is just really fun, and it's actually pretty accessible for people who don't like Souls-like experiences, kind of like Sekiro, or Sekiro. Love Bloodborne. Definitely one of my favorite games from this decade, and definitely high on the list if I was making a list. I mean, I made a list, but I didn't order them. I probably should have. Outlast, a fun, spooky experience. Lots of jump scares, interesting story. The DLC, the Whistleblower DLC, added a lot to the game. Definitely had a fun time playing through this one multiple times. I speedrun this game now because it's so much fun. I love just getting spooked by it and the different things you can do in this game. This game started the whole you're looking through a camera type gameplay that's kind of that infested the gameplay market for a while. Outlast 2 not as good as the first one, and hopefully the Trinity will be. Well, I think it's called Outlast Trinity, right? Where it's going to be like a co-op VR experience, maybe. Hopefully that'll be good. But Outlast 1 is a classic, and it'll go down in history for show. Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, it's so popular that people build YouTube careers off of it. And all they gotta do is get their mom on stream and have her say one word to the people they're playing with, and then they put it in the thumbnail. GTA is kind of a meme now. There's so many people who play it just so kids watch them doing stuff like that, playing the game, like modding the game and stuff like that. It's really become a national phenomenon, and really they don't need to make another Grand Theft Auto game. Like this is the peak of Grand Theft Auto. The open world, the characters, everything is so much fun, and the modding community has done a great job with the game as well, and they'll probably make it live forever. If you're a fan of role-playing, there's tons of servers for that, and it can get pretty weird. Just ask a retro fellow. Avast, matey! Sea of Thieves is here to give you the pirate adventures you need. It's like Black Flag, except first person and co-op only. Great game, great experiences I've had on this game. I haven't played it in a while, but I really want to get back to it. One of my favorite games from this year. Well, maybe was it came out last year? I don't remember, actually. It's a good game, though. The graphics are lovely, the gameplay is fun, and the new stuff that they add to the game almost monthly at this point just really improve the game. If you haven't tried out Sea of Thieves, this is an Xbox exclusive, but you can get it on Windows 10 if you have the Xbox app, so think about it. And you gotta have friends, too, I guess. That's important. Titanfall 2, the best first-person shooter to come out of that era of first-person shooters. It took everything that was wrong with Titanfall 1 and made it 10 times better. The campaign mode's great. The co-op mode they added in later is amazing. The multiplayer is fun. The Titan battles are epic, and the maps are really cool, too. If you haven't checked out Titanfall 2, I believe it's free for PlayStation Plus right now until the end of the month, so get on that. Or you can get it everywhere else, I guess. Hopefully Titanfall 2 leads the way for Titanfall 3, but of course we got Apex Legends, so... Sunset Overdrive, the infamous clone that we did not know we needed, but now that we have it, it's amazing. The game was published by Microsoft, but it's getting on more and more platforms as we speak. It's possibly coming to PlayStation 4 next year. Sunset Overdrive is really a fun and exciting experience. You're fighting these like soda monsters, and you have these like all these different weapons that you can use that are really fun, like a teddy bear launcher, a nail gun, all that kind of stuff. Really fun game, really fun soundtrack. If you're going to play it on YouTube, though, get ready for some muted sections on this game because they use copyrighted music. But other than that, really fun experience, really fun game. If you haven't played it and you love Infamous, this is the game for you. All right, the Resident Evil 2 remake definitely just took the whole Resident Evil 2 game, threw it on its head, and said, "Here you go, slide around a little bit." It's a fun game. It's really great. I talk about it in the top 10 games list for this year. So if you want to listen to that for more information, you can. I'm just kind of tired of talking about these games right now. We're going fast. It's turbo time. Modern Warfare 3, the best game in the Modern Warfare series, in my opinion. Best multiplayer, best single player, and decent Spec Ops. The single player is a good conclusion to the original trilogy of Modern Warfare, and the online was very well done, pretty balanced in my opinion, and a lot of weapon attachments, stuff like that. Of course, there's nothing as intricate as the gunsmith in Modern Warfare, but really great game. Definitely one that I still go back and play almost yearly. I mean, I was just playing the campaign a few months ago, so it's still a pretty fun game, and man, it really was the last Call of Duty experience that I really, really enjoyed until World War II came around, so there you go. We already talked about that game, so let's go ahead and mark some of these off. Spin it! Oh, we're getting so close, guys. I can almost taste the 2-hour mark. Battle Block Theater, a fun and goofy game. Don't really know how to describe it. You jump around on platforms in these intricate puzzle levels. It's 2D. It's a platforming adventure. It's kind of like Ultimate Chicken Horse, except without the the killing. I guess you would say. I don't know how to describe this game. It's fun though. It's really fun. We played it for like a year, and it was just a great experience. You can make your own levels as well, which is cool as well. If you haven't, check out Battle Block Theater, made by the same people who made Castle Crashers. God of War, the reboot of the series that turned everything into a much better experience for mainstream audiences. God of War was stuck in a rut. Let's all be honest. It was just a hack and slash that had really no heart or soul. And they turned it into something that actually had heart and soul. They kept the basic storyline and stuff like that from the old games intact, and they turned it into a Nordic adventure. And let me tell you, the end of this game left me wanting much, much, much more. So hopefully by the time that we're talking about God of War next year, they'll be announcing another game in the series, hopefully. For now, we'll just live with God of War. This is another one of those games where I wouldn't play through it multiple times, but the one playthrough was good enough where I was enticed to think about it for the rest of my life. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Great game, great aesthetic, great combat. Took the formula of the original games and put it into this one. Combo system, upgrades, stuff like that. Everything is really cool. The Blades of Chaos make a return in this game, and they turn the game upside down on its head and make you spin around with joy. So great, so great. It's a great experience. That's why it was Game of the Year last year. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, my favorite game in the Assassin's Creed series. You go to Rome, and it's quite the adventure. Besides from the multiplayer when it originally released, it was such a great game, great campaign, great open world, lots of things to discover and do. Find those feathers, boys. It really is my favorite game from the series, and the Ezio trilogy is probably the best game in that as well. Brotherhood is just such a fun time. The DLC was actually really good too. The first time I played through the DLC, guess what? Was in the Ezio trilogy remake, which made the graphics look awful, but the game's still intact. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, probably one of my favorite games on this list. Until Dawn, a narrative-driven adventure game, kind of point-and-clicky, but it was a fun experience, and I really wish that Man of Medan had lived up to this game, but it did not, in my opinion. Until Dawn was fun. It was like an old 80s slasher film. You're playing as each character, and you're trying to survive, or you're trying to kill them. It depends. Are you good at quick time events? I hope so, because this game is full of them. Rise of the Tomb Raider still and will always be my favorite Tomb Raider game. The crafting on the go was amazing. The story was amazing. The overall the graphics and places you go to in this game, amazing. Shadow of the Tomb Raider just didn't live up to my expectations after playing this game. And the original Tomb Raider, it's hard to go back and play that one because it's just a little bit different than this one. I'm planning on playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider again, trying it again. I got through a fourth of the game and was like, wasn't really feeling it, but I'm going to try again. But Rise of the Tomb Raider, one of my favorite games the year it came out on the PlayStation. I think it was number 2, right below Titanfall. So pretty cool. Definitely recommend it. The crafting on the go is worth its weight in whatever, I don't know, gold. A Hat in Time. It's what Yooka-Laylee tried to be, but failed. A Hat in Time gives you this amazing adventure. It's a 3D platformer with different hats you can choose from. Reminds me so much of Mario 64, Mario Odyssey, all those old Banjo-Kazooie type games in one little package. It's a little overpriced still, in my opinion, but it's definitely worth it nowadays. It's such a great experience. If you have a kid, definitely one of those games that I would start them off with because it's really, really, really good. So, yeah, fun times, I guess. Oh, okay, we gotta go back and delete some. Oh, I think we're at like the final 10. Super Hot is a game that's so fucking amazing, whether it's in VR or with a controller. It's so good. I platinumed this game. I was one of the first people to platinum it on PlayStation. I was so proud. Oh, so good. Like, you can slow down time. It's an action. You can feel like John Wick. You shoot people with guns, and you throw the guns at their face, and things shatter, and it's such an interesting and amazing game. The extra game modes are so much fun. It's a small package, but damn, does it deliver. Super hot. The survival mode's fun, too. Dead Cells, one of the only 2D side-scroller permadeath games that I will consider fun. Dead Cells, it's an action, fast-paced game. Lots of weapons and random environments to go to. Lots of secrets to find. Lots of bosses to fight. Lots of areas to go to. If you're a hardcore fan of permadeath games, then this is a good side-scrolling game for you. Even if you're a fan of like Dark Souls or something like that, it's really fun. Blasphemous kind of took this game's kind of style of doing things. There you go. Dead Cells, really good. One of my favorite games from last year. Mass Effect 2, my most ever played through game. I played this game so much I can recite the dialogue if given prompts. I played this game so many times. Male, female, renegade, paragon, left, right, upside down, diagonally, turn around. I've discovered things in this game that you couldn't discover back in the day because YouTube wasn't really that big of a thing. Finding out that you could get Samara to be killed by her daughter was one of the biggest discoveries of my lifetime. I really wish I could play through this game for the first time again. It was such a great experience. The only thing that drags it down is the mining of planets, but other than that, everything is so fantastic with this game. It's just such a fun game. I really hope they put out like a remaster of the original trilogy of Mass Effect because it really needs it. And, there's some basic quality of life things that need improved about these games, like load times and like frame rates and stuff like that. But other than that, this was one of those games like you could play this game without playing the other games. Or you could take stuff from Mass Effect 1 and have it affect Mass Effect 2. It's just a great game. I could talk about it for hours. There's actually a podcast I was on with Vivid Chim where I talk about this game in depth if you want to look that up. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's called like Why Everyone Loves Mass Effect 2 or something like that. I love the Mass Effect series, and it's so unfortunate that Andromeda was so terrible. Whoops. We already saw Super Hot. All right, time to take off more. Spin it. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. Skyrim. What list isn't complete without Skyrim on it? It's been released more times than any other game I can think of right now. Maybe Telltale Walking Dead series is on par with it, but Skyrim. It's a game that will stand the test of time. It's just great. I can't. What else can you say about Skyrim? It's just like Portal 2. It's like everything that you can say about Skyrim has already been said. So why even say anything at all? Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a great Souls-like game that's accessible for all ages. It's a great canon Star Wars game. This came out at the perfect time. Because Star Wars is starting to get good again with The Mandalorian, with this Fallen Order game, and now we're going to be getting a new trilogy after the abysmal Episode 9. I apologize to anyone who liked it. I apologize. I'll talk about more of it during Fubar Ferret or something like that. But Fallen Order was a great experience. I'm definitely going to play through it again soon. It was on my top 10 list for this year. Definitely a good game, so check it out if you want to. We're close. We're getting there. Dark Souls Trace. Dark Souls 3. Great game, from software game, the only Dark Souls game that's actually named Dark Souls that I can complete. Dark Souls 1 and 2 and Demon Souls are just so terribly difficult, but Dark Souls 3 toned it down a little bit, but it still gave it that challenging edge, and the Souls-like games like this game really prove that hard games, single-player games, are still loved by all, loved by many. Me personally, I really like Dark Souls 3. It's not as good as Bloodborne, but it's right below. Mutant Year Zero combines top-down third-person action with turn-based strategy, kind of like Mario and Rabbids. Except serious. Mutant Year Zero has really interesting character designs. It has a really interesting story. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you look it up. It's a really fun game. There's like a complete edition out now with all the DLC, which is really good deal. It's definitely not a game for everyone, but if you like turn-based strategy, kind of like the Mario and Rabbids game or XCOM, definitely look into this one. The characters are fun. Honk Honk is Untitled Goose Game, one of my favorite games of this decade, and it just came out a few months ago. It's such a fun experience. I talk about it in depth on my top 10 list, so if you want to, you can watch that for more information. It's just a game where you play as a goose who terrorizes a little town, and it's so much fun. Check it out. We're almost through. Blur, one of the best racing games that's not a Mario Kart, but it feels like a Mario Kart. It takes like the kind of Need for Speed type gameplay and combines it with Mario Kart with items and stuff like that to affect your opponents. It's still a game that I say is one of the best racing games of all time. It's very underrated, and if you haven't played Blur, it's on my shelf right now. I bought it for like $20. It's still like $20 because it's such a rare game, but it's such a good game. It's so good. I mean, the drifting, the combat, the vehicular slaughter, the map designs, the characters you meet, so good. And it doesn't have like a story mode like Need for Speed does. It's just kind of like a basic like overlaying story. Like you go up against these different racers, you earn their cars, stuff like that. It's such a great game. Check out Blur. So good. So good. We're almost through. I might as well just go through these without spinning the wheel. Shadow of Mordor. Awesome Lord of the Rings game. Best game since the movie games. Best game since the Third Age game. Didn't really enjoy Shadow of War, but Shadow of Mordor is definitely a more tight-knit game. It doesn't have an endless end game, so it definitely is more story-based than Shadow of War. And just everything about it is really, really great. The combat, everything like that. It reminds me of like a Spider-Man or Batman type game, but you're using a sword that cut off orcs' heads. Injustice. The original Injustice game had a great story, great combat. I didn't like Injustice 2 because the story was lame and the combat was iffy, and don't forget the customization options, oh boy. But Injustice 1, great game. Love the story with it, even though the graphics aren't as good. I really enjoyed it. It's a great DC game, and the DLC characters were fun to play as well. Dying Light, one of the greatest zombie games ever, even though my fiance says it's awful. It's a parkour game and with a night and day cycle, and things change a lot. You hear me say it a lot, but Good Night, Good Luck is from this game because at night all the zombies change to be more aggressive, and there's a new zombie type that roams the streets. The parkour in the game is smooth and flowing, and let me tell you, the combat is fun as well. The only thing that sucks about the game is midway through the game, you don't have the airdrops come in. The airdrops are one of those fun things that you see in the distance, and you try and run to as fast as you can before either the enemy finds it or zombies swarm the area. This is a game that's not like Days Gone, where if you shoot something, the zombies will collect. They will come to you. In Days Gone, they do not. I tested it, trust me. So Dying Light, one of my favorite games of this decade for show. And finally on our list of the top 100 games of the decade, holy shit, we made it through before 2 hours, Garden Warfare 2. This game is better than Garden Warfare 1, but not as good, it's better than Garden Warfare 1 and Welcome to Neighborville. For the sole purpose that you can actually take skins and characters you earned from Garden Warfare 1 and transfer them over to Garden Warfare 2 for free! Garden Warfare 2 took everything from Garden Warfare 1 and improved it. Open world to fight and defend the flag, and it's really fun. A story mode that has different different levels you can go through. New multiplayer modes that are really fun as well. Holy shit, we're done. We're done. Holy shit. Thank you for listening for this long. I'm gonna have to edit this down a little bit, probably take out some things, but holy shit, 2 hours. Well, I guess I was kind of expecting it to take this long because of 100 games, 100 fucking games. I may or may not in the future order these games, but for now, I just talked about them verbatim. You know kind of which ones are my more favorite over other ones that I played, but whew, this was fun to put together, fun to record, I guess. And it's probably not going to be that much fun to record. I'm not going to premiere this video. Definitely not going to premiere this. 2 hours is way too long. No one will stick around for that. But if you're listening to this on Spotify, SoundCloud, or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. If you're listening to this on YouTube, thank you as well. I know it's not very visually pleasing, but hey, what do you know? It's me, YemmytheFerret. Thank you for watching, listening, or doing everything else. I'm done. My brain is fried. I cannot talk about any more video games today. Thank you once again. I hope you have a great Christmas, a great holiday. Hope you have a great New Year. I'll see you in the New Year with news and more things to come on the channel and the podcast. Fubar Ferret, Film Freaks, both available on all platforms, so make sure you check those out as well. I am YemmytheFerret, and this has been a super, super duper long episode of YemmyCast, of a video game podcast.